The end of the Cold War and remarkable technological changes propelled the U.S. to unexpected prosperity. Between December 1991 and March 2000, the U.S. economy experienced the longest period of uninterrupted growth since the economic expansion of the 1960s. The end of communism in Europe hastened the pace of globalization, the knitting together of the world's economies through new information technology, and the end of the artificial political barriers of the Cold War. Worldwide growth quickened. Asian and some Latin American economies boomed. They exported manufactured products to the U.S., while the U.S. supplied the world with technical innovations, food, weapons, and cultural exports such as films, software, hip-hop, and Air Jordans. The new prosperity was all the more welcome because few analysts expected it. A surge in worker productivity ignited the new growth, with the information technology industry leading the way. Millions of Americans invested heavily in the stock of new companies. Thousands of them grew rich in stock market booms that resembled the explosive and unsustainable growth of the 1920s. As had been the case in the 1920s, many Americans believed a new era of permanent abundance had begun. Prosperity did not flow evenly, however, and the income gap between rich and poor continued to grow, with the fault lines reflecting differences in education, incarceration, as well as race and gender. By 2001, more than 60 million of the 107 million American households had a personal computer, and 51 million of them had internet access. Millions of people spent their spare time reading websites and surfing the internet. Some played games on their computers, often as simple as solitaire. Others connected to the internet to play more complex games as part of online communities that connected gamers at home, or work, or at least internet cafes throughout the world. Fans of the internet celebrated its ability to reconnect people and provide new, electronic communities for those with like-minded interests. Critics lambasted it as another way that technology drew people away from traditional social spaces and increased the isolation of modern society. Some people outside the U.S. objected to the American domination of internet domain names, but more praised the changes. During the 1990s, the new information technology industries fueled a boom on Wall Street, where stock prices more than quadrupled as the Dow Jones Industrial Average Index rose from a low of 2,588 points in January 1991 to a high of 11,722 points in January 2000. The decade saw rapid growth, low unemployment, low inflation, and an increase in investment in real estate. The new communications technology and global business market, at the very least, helped make companies more efficient and productive, even if not entirely responsible for shaping the economy as a whole. In 1999, economic growth received a further boost from the repeal of parts of the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933, which had barred many banks from undertaking risky investments with depositors' money. The law was enacted originally to prevent the kind of wild speculation that had contributed to the Great Depression. Congressional Republicans who passed the repeal argued that deregulation would encourage new forms of lending and investment without increasing risk. Their prediction worked. For a while. Widespread enthusiasm for internet-based companies promoted the dot-com boom of the mid and late 1990s. More people than ever invested in the stock market, as by 2001, more than 50% of American families owned stock, up from 32% in 1989 and from only 13% in 1980. Investment clubs sprung up throughout the country to take part in what the New York Times called a, quote, shareholder democracy. One study indicated that 11% of the population, or roughly 20 million people, belonged to an investment club in the 1990s. Day trading, or buying and selling on the financial market on the same day, flourished during the peak of the dot-com boom from 1997 to 2000. The NASDAQ index, which included many high-tech stocks and attracted much of the day trading, increased 86% in 1999 alone. Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan warned against irrational exuberance toward the tech market in December 1996, but investment kept pouring in, stocks continued to rise, and the tech stocks in particular reached unsustainable values. In 2000, the merger of the relative newcomer America Online and media heavyweight Time Warner, with its huge assets of Time, Sports Illustrated, CNN, Warner Brothers Movie Studio, illustrated the influence of the tech craze on the financial market. That said, extreme wealth still rested in the hands of a few. The richest 1% of stockholders owned roughly 50% of all stock, and less than 1/3 of the population invested more than $5,000. Moreover, the gap between the income of the CEO and that of the average worker widened drastically. The average CEO made nearly 110 times more than the typical worker, double the ratio from just 1989, and 5 times the difference from 1962. When the bubble burst in March 2000, many of the dot-coms went under. Entrepreneurs lost their quickly made fortunes, and many day traders on the NASDAQ also lost heavily.